playoff chances had disappeared long ago. In the midst of a blustery winter storm gripping Pittsburgh's Three Rivers Stadium, Baltimore, injured and maligned all season, hoped to upset the tempered Steelers and manage 13 points. But for Pittsburgh quarterback Terry Bradshaw, even the violence of the December snow couldn't dampen his hot hand as he rifled passes as if he was in a Miami preseason game. Second-string wide receiver Jim Smith, number 86, an example of the Steelers' awesome depth, collected one of Bradshaw's end zone tosses, while Lynn Swan, number 88, nearly wriggled and blazed for another. Bradshaw completed his 25th touchdown pass, tops in the AFC, to number 82, John Stallworth. Pittsburgh amassed 35 blizzard battling points and secured the home field advantage for the ensuing playoffs. In Cleveland, they had to scrape the tarpaulin off the field before the Browns met the Oilers, a team that more resembled bank robbers than football players. The intolerable conditions turned the field into a skating rink where sharp cuts were impossible. Both teams played out this comic opera where mistakes were the rule, not the exception, and extra points were as brutal as a punch in the kisser. Where larger men feared to tread, the Oilers' Billy Johnson, number 84, proved to be Hans Brinker in white skates. And his 72-yard punt return in the third quarter broke the ice and the back of the Cleveland Browns. Brown's only bright spot in the 19-15 defeat came on a touchdown pass from Terry Luck to Gary Paris. But it was little solace to a team that just 6 weeks ago was number 1 in the AFC Central and seemingly on the way to the playoffs. Just wait till we get them in the Coliseum. So went the battle cry of the Los Angeles Rams as they prepared to meet the Minnesota Vikings in the first round of the NFC playoffs. All three previous postseason meetings between these clubs had been played in the cold climes of Minnesota. And on all three occasions, the Vikings were the victors. But now the Rams were at home, only to find that the balmy LA climate had turned on them. It was great irony worthy of O. Henry or Hitchcock. For 2 years, California has been plagued by drought. But when the rains finally came, they were most unwelcome. The undermanned Vikings now had an equalizer, even though in the early going the Rams seemed unaffected by it. LA's first offensive series was crisp and smooth as the running of John Cappelletti and Lawrence McCutcheon, number 30, moved the team with surprising ease. But on a 4th and 1 situation at the Minnesota 31-yard line, the Rams decided to gamble for the first down. Again, McCutcheon got the call, but this time the Vikings were ready. In retrospect, this was the game's turning point. After this play, the Rams were unable to seriously threaten until it was much too late. But for the Vikings, it sparked their finest offensive series of the game. One key play was a pass from quarterback Bob Lee to wide receiver Ahmad Rashad, number 28. Rashad's catch set up the only score of the first half, a 5-yard run from number 44, Chuck Foreman. Foreman finished the game with 101 yards rushing, making the clutch plays when he had to. Today especially, Foreman was the Minnesota attack. But the Rams found they too could move when tight end Terry Nelson, number 83, touched the ball. Nelson caught 5 passes, complementing the running of McCutcheon. Despite close encounters of the muddy kind, McCutcheon still ran for over 100 yards. But when the Rams got near the end zone, Minnesota slammed the door. An interception by number 25, Nate Allen, ended the most serious Ram advance of the first 30 minutes. Minnesota was a 10-point underdog for this game, yet led 7-0 at the half. Only 2 months earlier, these same Vikings had been humiliated here by the Rams in a 35-3 rout. Now it was their turn to exact revenge. And appropriately enough, it was Chuck Foreman who led the way. Foreman's fourth quarter burst set up a touchdown plunge from Sammy Johnson that appeared to put the Rams away for good. Indeed, Los Angeles did not even get on the scoreboard until only 56 seconds remained. The Rams then recovered an onside kick, but were halted in their efforts to tie the game. Twice in the final minutes, the Vikings intercepted passes at the goal line, including this one from number 22, Paul Krause. For the fourth straight time, the Vikings beat the Rams in the playoffs. They did it with good defense, no turnovers, and a little assist from Mother Nature. The song says it never rains in Southern California, but this time it rained all over the Rams parade.
This cat digs multicolored domes.
Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, the weather turned the usually docile Bengals into a new breed of cat as the formerly toothless Cincinnati offense bowled over every obstacle in sight. Ken Anderson had thrown only 4 touchdown passes all season, but bombing early before the weather got worse, Anderson suddenly got hot against the New York Giants' usually tough defense. Number 82, Billy Brooks, took Anderson's first pass of the day for an easy touchdown. And then Anderson's second pass of the day went for another touchdown to Billy Brooks, last year's number 1 draft choice from Oklahoma. In all, Ken Anderson threw 4 passes in the first half, 3 of them for touchdowns. The third went to rookie tight end Jim Corbett from Pittsburgh, as the Bengals rolled to an easy win and stayed within 1 game of the first-place Steelers in the AFC Central. Up in Green Bay, as they say, the game started and ended in a blizzard, with Minnesota trying to hold on to a 1-game lead in their division but falling behind when Packer quarterback David Whitehurst ran through the white stuff for an early score. Viking quarterback Bob Lee dared only 8 passes, but one that spun through the flakes for 40 yards to Sammy White proved to be the margin of victory. Whitehurst threw the ball 15 more times than Lee, yet completed just one more pass, but it was a big one. A 34-yarder to Bert Askson that brought Green Bay to the Viking 5-yard line. Askson tried to snowball into the end zone, but unfortunately could not. And the always clutch Minnesota defense, Bobby Bryant especially, saved the Vikings once more as their 13-6 victory preserved a one-game lead in the NFC Central Division. With quarterback Terry Bradshaw in rare form, Pittsburgh Steelers coach Chuck Noll couldn't be happier. Last Sunday in the slippery Los Angeles Coliseum, Bradshaw gave each of his talented wide receivers a chance to work his personal specialty. In the case of number 82, John Stallworth, that specialty is running with the ball after the catch. On the other side, Pittsburgh has Lynn Swann, famous for his leaping ability and sure hands. Against the Rams, Swann and Stallworth accounted for most of Pittsburgh's offense as the Steelers assumed a 7-3 lead. But while Pittsburgh's pass catchers were running their routes, the Ram pass rush was running roughshod. The NFC's leading defense allowed the Steelers only 7 points. Meanwhile, Los Angeles' runners pounded away at the steel curtain, controlling the ball on the ground most of the final 2 periods while awaiting that one big scoring opportunity. Then late in period 4, that opportunity presented itself, and quarterback Pat Hayden took advantage. Number 82, Willie Miller, scored the game winner as Los Angeles overcame the Pittsburgh Steelers 10-7. The Rams aren't the most exciting team around, and their methods often draw criticism from their fans. But they're winning proof that patience is still an important element in winning football games. Came into New York with his Chicago Bears, needing a win to put them in that slot. Walter also needed some 199 yards to break O.J. Simpson's seasonal rushing record. But with both a rugged Giant defense and slushy turf to contend with, Peyton never had much of a chance. The Giants had many chances to win the game as quarterback Joe Pisarcik found his receivers consistently, only to watch them break his heart. Late in regulation time, the Giants trailed by 3 and came close to notching the go-ahead score, but they didn't make it and had to settle for a field goal that sent the match into overtime. The two teams slugged it out in the extra period with no results, but then in the final minute, the Bears put on one last drive. Quarterback Bob Avellini hit Peyton on a sideline pass that moved the ball into field goal range. However, in Peyton's quest for extra yardage, he failed to get out of bounds to stop the clock. The final seconds ticked off as an anxious Bear bench prayed that the kicking unit could make the one play that would grant them the wild card berth. It all came down to number 16, Bob Thomas, who already had missed 2 field goals and an extra point during the game. But this time he did not fail. Only 9 seconds remained when his kick split the uprights. For the first time since 1963, the Chicago Bears had made the playoffs. It's been 14 years of frustration and disappointment for the Monsters of the Midway, but they've finally been readmitted to the championship club. Somewhere there was Papa Bear George Halas, the man who started this whole crazy game over 50 years ago in a Canton, Ohio garage. Somewhere there was George Halas, and he was smiling. The Cincinnati Bengals, a championship caliber fighter with a glass jaw that in recent years hasn't known much big game success. Last week, however, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers who hit the canvas. intimidation lacked in subtlety, their secondary made up for in daring, snatching one of Bradshaw's desperation aerials for 6 points. Offense joined defense in winning alliance. Kenny Anderson landed 2 big haymakers. One to Billy Brooks that staggered the champs early. With 1 game left, the Bengals can unseat Pittsburgh as AFC Central Division champion. In Cincinnati, the Atlanta Falcons' almost sure shot at a playoff berth came crashing down in an unexpected loss to the hapless Bengals. Cincinnati looked like anything but a team that had lost 12 of 13 games as they sacked and plundered Steve Bartkowski for 3 interceptions. 2 of them long returns for touchdowns by the Bengals secondary. Cincinnati completely dominated despite losing starting quarterback Ken Anderson on a blitz by Dewey McClain, number 52. It was an injury to Anderson that began the Bengals' decline early in the year. Cincinnati, who has been having trouble running the ball all season, they ranked dead last, got a big game from huge fullback Pete Johnson, who scored twice, once on a 50-yard sweep. For the first time this season, the Bengals looked like the team many thought had a real chance at a division title. This juggling act by wide receiver Pat McInally sums up Cincinnati's botched season. Because of a penalty, the spectacular touchdown didn't count. McInally and his teammates' obvious joy, which soon turned to despair, is an appropriate symbol for Cincinnati and their disastrous season of '78. The Rams demolished the playoff dreams of the Green Bay Packers and also assured themselves of the important home field advantage should they advance to the conference championship. Los Angeles, whose fortunes have seemed to be on the decline in recent games, never trailed as they easily handled Bart Starr's ambitious Packers 31-14. Green Bay's only touchdowns were both scored by running star Turdell Middleton, number 34. Despite Middleton's end zone excursions, the Rams' defense was devastating, holding ground-oriented Green Bay to just 75 yards and forcing the Pack into critical errors. The biggest coming when Rod Perry, number 49, picked off a David Whitehurst dying quail. For the Pro Bowl-bound Perry, it was his 8th interception and the 3rd he's returned for a touchdown this year. Locked in winter's icy grip, the city of St. Louis and Bush Memorial Stadium seemed an unlikely spot for the arthritic Washington Redskins to be spending the weekend. Still, the never say die old-timers were out in the cold to try and eliminate the St. Louis Cardinals from playoff contention. On the frozen tundra, number 21 Terry Metcalf could only ad-lib as the St. Louis offense moved in fits and starts. Meanwhile, Washington surprised everyone by starting Billy Kilmer at quarterback for the first time in 8 weeks. Kilmer directed an offense that went slip-sliding upfield with rookie Clarence Harmon, number 38. Unfazed by the dreadful conditions, Kilmer once again proved to be the patron saint of lost Redskin causes. Calvin Hill's touchdown was one of 14 Kilmer completions, giving Washington the lead and making head coach George Allen look like a genius for once again resurrecting Billy the Kid in a must game. Finally, in the fourth quarter, number 17 Jim Hart kicked the Cardinals' big play offense into high gear. Terry Metcalf raced 68 yards, and St. Louis bombing runs threatened to snatch back Washington's hard-earned advantage. But as always, those old Redskin dogs refused to die. Eddie Brown's interception sealed Washington's 26-20 victory and wiped out Cardinal playoff hopes. 15 hard New England winners have passed since the football Patriots last won a division championship. But last Sunday in snow-filled Foxborough Stadium, the Patriots finally put away a division title of their own. The New England defense allowed 24 points to the Buffalo Bills, but made the big play when they needed it most. Meanwhile, on offense, Steve Grogan directed the NFL's highest-scoring attack, and the Pats tied a league record for rushing yardage in a single season. The team that now shares that record is the Buffalo Bills of 1973. Then O.J. Simpson was the main man. Today, the Bills run a trio of youngsters like Curtis Brown, Roland Hooks, and Terry Miller, number 40. All of them ran surprisingly well on the icy surface against the number 1 ranked defense against the run. In fact, they ran so well, the Bills led the Patriots 24-21 until the final seconds of the game. The outcome hinged on some debatable strategy by Buffalo. Ahead by 3, Chuck Knox had punter Rusty Jackson purposely take a safety rather than risk a punt from his own end zone. It gave the Patriots a solid shot at winning the game with a field goal rather than merely tying with one. Pats kicker David Posey, who's had an uneven season at best, 7 of 18 field goal tries, took the tactics personally and met the challenge by booting the winner with only 8 seconds left. The thrilling 26-24 squeaker was New England's 11th victory of the year, but definitely the most important in 15 years for the new Eastern Division champions. In the frozen north of Bloomington, Minnesota, Fran Tarkenton and his Norsemen are scratching out a playoff berth in the ice and snow. But in the words of Philadelphia head coach Dick Vermeil, the Eagles came to Minnesota to control our destiny. And a 56-yard touchdown bomb to wide receiver Harold Carmichael, number 17, nudged the Eagles closer to making the playoffs for the first time in 19 years. In this seesaw battle for postseason play, Viking quarterback Fran Tarkenton put up the ball an incredible 56 times. And his second touchdown pass of the game to number 85 Sammy White made the score 14-7. Not to be outdone as a scoring duo, Ron Jaworski and Harold Carmichael combined again to tie the game at 14. Running back number 31 Wilbert Montgomery of the Eagles took this pitch out and demonstrated how he scampered for a 100-yard-plus day in the ice and cold to go over 1,000 yards rushing on the year. In the third quarter, Tarkenton finessed a touchdown pass to running back Ricky Young, number 34. With the two defenses dominating the second half, the game boiled down to a Viking 4th and 10 with only 2 minutes left to play. Sir Francis hit wide-open tight end number 38, Bob Tucker, for the vital first down, which set up a designed Hail Mary pass. Just the week before against Green Bay, Tarkenton let number 28, Ahmad Rashad's jumping ability, tie the Packers. Now Rashad pulled down 6 points to tie the helpless Eagles 27-27. And an earlier missed extra point left the Eagles stuck to a 1-point loss to the Vikings 28-27.
Check out my video entitled The Mud Bowl Playoff Game in my playlist under NFL Playoff Games. It's my second most popular video, and it has more game footage between the Rams and Vikings classic 1977 playoff game. Thank you for watching.